So, hello. I am here today on the Cynic's Guide to Hippie Shit. I'm here with Elizabeth Walker, and we're going to be talking about energy, amongst many other things. So, we had a chat about a week or so ago, didn't we, about all of the different things that we could talk about, but energy seemed to be the key theme, and it's also something that gets my woo-woo hackles up. So, welcome. And what is energy?
Starting with with a big question. What is energy? Energy is everything, I think. It's everything. It's a word that we throw around quite a lot, I think, sometimes without realizing its true meaning. Um, I should start. I am a scientist, so I'm a scientist at heart. I was brought up by a my mother, who brought me up, is very much into alternative medicine, alternative ways of thinking. And I kind of, the whole way through my teenage years, I was like, it's complete rubbish. Honestly, she's completely lost her mind. Like, what is going on? Yeah, how it. And but the more I went through life on my own, the more I started realizing, and that actually maybe some of what she was saying, there was actually something to it. So when I think about energy, I always go back to what I learned in a physics class when I was doing about 16, 15, 16, and I didn't like physics. Like, I love science, I love chemistry, love biology, I love evidence. Physics was just sort of like, yeah, no, this isn't my subject. But the one thing I do remember is that energy is always transferred. Like, it's never just appears and it never just disappears. It always transfers. And we can see this when we're boiling a kettle. The electricity goes in, the water goes from being cold to being hot. Then you put the boiling water into a cup and the tea gets cold or the water gets cold, but the cup gets warm. So the energy is always moving around. So energy is, for me, I would start off with I am energy. So I am scientifically, my body is actually just organic chemistry, isn't it? So it's just carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. I am just a group of molecules, in the same way as a chair is, in the same way as soil, everything like that. But there is something that makes me animate. There's something that makes me move. There's something that gives me my personality. There's something that gives me my character, my sort of my oomph. And that to me is the energy. And I also sometimes I will call that my soul,
Ooh.
but it is like it's the both. And I actually see this, my soul is just energy, because when we go into this, when a person dies, something leaves. Like, the bit that made that person move, and yes, okay, the heart stopped and all of that, but the bit that made that person move is no longer there. And if we go back to what is it, energy doesn't just disappear, it transforms. It always transforms and transfers. So is that bit for me, is that my energy, or but my soul will leave this body and go back into the ether.
Oh, there's so much in there. It's interesting you talk about physics and energy, and I was thinking about, well, first of all, thinking about how somebody like Brian Cox might respond, because he's like, everything's about physics and it is very provable and it makes a lot of, so that's quite interesting. I think often when people talk about energy and when people talk about things that are alternative, they often kind of come down to a lot of the kind of physics side of things, don't they? They talk about, if you go far enough into atoms, it's all just a little tiny bit of stuff and it's just vibrating. It's about the vibrations. And if you break it down far enough, then we're nothing but energy, because it's just that.
Mhm.
That's quite mind blowing, and it kind of makes me think, well, why can't I get my finger through this table? Because it is nothing and yet it's something at the same time. Because I suppose energy is powerful.
So,
Uh,
but also, I'd say if the scientists come back, the reason you can't get your finger through the table is the bonds are just really strong. The covalent bonds are just really, really strong, that they're holding all those little bits together so strong that your finger hasn't got the pressure. to go through. Because I love what you say there about vibration, and I'll, hopefully we'll come back to that at some point. Is sort of like, our energy, our vibration is so powerful, and if that is actually what dictates the quality of life that we have. We'll come back to
So how do when we spoke the other day, everything seemed to come back to energy. And what what is your work and how do you use energy in your work?
So I am a coach. I am a recovery coach, so an addiction recovery coach. So it's, I work with people who are in recovery from addiction, whether or not it's a substance use disorder, a behavioral disorder, a relationship, a person, Instagram. And there are so many different ways in which we can kind of use, or our habits can become incredibly unhealthy. And I also would say that, although not everybody that I work with relates as being an addict in recovery, we are all in recovery from something, whether
Yes.
or not it's the big and little traumas from life, whether or not it is the fact that we've realized we're using Instagram or Netflix as a bit of a sort of numbing escapism from being with ourselves or from, our
Facebook.
reality. Yeah, Facebook's the other one. And so I kind of also call myself an authenticity coach, because to me, it's about creating that relationship with ourselves. That means that we don't want any of that. I mean, I am in recovery myself. And when I found out, the bit for me was when I put it together that my substance wasn't the problem. My substance had been my solution for many years. And for many years it worked. And then it stopped working, and it stopped working quite dramatically. The problem, the problem I had was actually with myself, was actually the fact that it's almost like parts of my soul, parts of my energy had left my body because it no longer felt safe to be here. So I didn't know who I was. I didn't like myself very much. I didn't have any connection with myself. I like I was a body, I was a vessel, but the bit of me, that bit of me that came, that has come to have this human experience wasn't there, and therefore there was a real disconnect. So that's why I say I'm an authenticity coach. I support people in creating that relationship with themselves, having that connection with who they are, what it is they want from life, what's their purpose, all of those questions, what they enjoy, and just being able to love themselves exactly as they are. And
Wow.
then when you're in that place, life becomes actually really enjoyable, quite exciting.
That's amazing. I'm a psychotherapist and mindfulness trainer, and I see so many people who from hating themselves to ambivalent to everything along that spectrum, but to actually get to a point of loving yourself. I remember having a conversation with someone about it, and she was like, "Well, nobody loves them." Or she might have even said nobody likes themselves. She said, "I think it was at least nobody loves themselves." And I was like, "I don't think that's true."
It
And
doesn't have to be true.
it have to be true. But it's almost like not only do is it hard for people to love or like themselves, I think it's also hard to admit if they've managed to get to the point of loving and liking themselves. Because actually, I feel like I probably do love myself, but there's a little part of me that goes, "Oh, can't say that in public. People will think I'm bad." But actually, why shouldn't I? But it's not like culturally very the done thing for a woman to love herself, unless it's loving herself enough to spend money on beauty products.
Yeah, yeah.
To just to love ourselves enough to kind of go, I'm enough just as I am.
And to be able to own it,
Yeah.
be able to, and I think, I mean, for me, I've seen in my journey that it actually can make other people quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But then, as with everything, it's highlighting an area for them to work on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if we're going to go into that, also a society of people that loves themselves, accepts themselves, they're not really very profitable to others, are they? let's face it, media, we are taught, I was taught in through the media and social media particularly now, we're digressing a bit from the topic, but how do you sell to someone who's actually perfectly content with life and perfectly content with themselves?
Yeah. But if everybody was perfectly content with themselves, the world would be a lot less fucked than it is.
It would be really nice. And the interesting thing is that I'm okay with I'm okay. I love myself. I like myself.
Good.
I acknowledge I am not perfect. I am far from it. I have got flaws, but they're all right. They're okay. They actually kind of what make me unique, and I'm aware of them. And when one of them acts out, I'm able to hold my hands up and go, "Oh yeah, okay, right," and apologize where necessary, tweak of those. It's all part of the growing process. But actually, part of that loving myself means that I make an effort with how I look because I'm doing it for me. I want to look nice. I want to wear. So yeah, it's to me it's a bit twisted. But anyway, as I say, we're digressing.
Oh no,
It's
we will
sort of like
digress. That is fine. That's fine.